here's the brutal truth, it's fake. No lord had a legal first night, they had fees. You'd see the bailiff not a bed and you'd hear a chest clink with 3 pennies. It hit you on your wedding, your kids, your farm. And if you balked once, they took your cow. Imagine a cold stone hall, candles guttering, a chest waiting. You don't face your lord at the bedchamber. You face his bailiff at a chest instead. Manorial court rolls make this clear. They list merche, marriage fees, paid in pennies, hens, or ale. Rolls record names, amounts, and the commodity paid. A clerk scratches them down under the flicker of smoke while dogs whine outside. The bailiff drops coins, you hear the wooden chest clink. Not sex. There is no statute granting a lord a sexual right. No black letter law ever hands over a bride to a lord. The bailiff meant revenue, not rendezvous. Revenue buys salt, repairs the ditches, and pays the reeve. For a peasant family, merche is a real small calamity. 3 pennies here, a hen there, sometimes brutal shillings. If the manor loses labor when a daughter leaves, you stand shivering in your best clothes, ale sticky on your hands, bargaining not for privacy, but for pennies. Refuse to pay and the court will distract you. Seize pots, take a pig, count your betting as payment. So people learn tricks, secret marriages, running off to another lordship, or living in a town long enough to gain freedom. The records show the receipts, not the rape. Imagine your cold breath fogging in candlelight, smoke stinging eyes. The lord sleeps warm, you ration straw and half a blanket. It's survival, not ceremony. Church bells don't melt household debts. Not romantic. Guards tally dues. Servants whisper about daughters who vanished. You'll hear the chest clink. Then learn how people dodged it. And picture a flickering hall, smoke climbing under rafters. A wooden chest open on a trestle. Everyone expects a spectacle, the lord a silk bedchamber, a ruined bride. There was no law. Medieval statute books never hand any lord a legal right to your wedding night. Instead, you find court rolls and tally sticks. You find merche payments in pennies, hens, or a jug of ale, recorded in neat Latin. The manor collects cash, not consent. The human reality was cruder and colder. Imagine cold breath fogging a candlelit hall, smoke tasting of stew. A bailiff's gloved hand weighed coins, not a lover's palm. Families huddled, trading hens and favors to survive. Nobles warmed, stone rooms, peasants warmed by luck and sweat, not glamour. A bailiff stood at the chest, not a lord at the bed. Families counted pennies, feared fines, and traded quiet favors to keep a daughter's marriage affordable. But stories, love drama. Writers centuries later rewrote the ledger into lust. Boccaccio smirks on the page. A Scottish chronicler brags. Voltaire and other Enlightenment pamphleteers weaponized rumor into moral outrage. Fees become rape in print. Gossip and real abuses fed the tale too. Reeves and powerful men could and did coerce. Yet coercion is not statute. The smell of smoke, the clink of coins, the hush of a courtroom tell a different story: economics, power, and survival. You inherited a movie version, not a legal record. Before we finally kill the legend, meet the man who actually made your wedding expensive. You push open a door and step into a smoky hall, not a silk chamber. Candles gutter, ale fumes hang, and a knot of villagers lean toward a walnut chest. This is where the bedroom boss really lives, the bailiff, not the lord. He does paperwork with a knife. He scores payments on a wooden tally stick, notch by notch, and the tallies mean law. On court day, he counts coins, asks for mercha, and drops them into the manor chest, like a brutal ritual. He writes your debt with the same hand that can reach across the room and take your best cow. He can seize pots, bedding, even oxen, if you refuse. He doesn't patrol bedrooms. He polices the purse. He makes weddings expensive, not sexual. For a peasant family, the scene is quiet and humiliating: a mother fingering a coin pouch, a husband trying to smile, the bailiff tapping his stick. Survival lives in those notches. Refuse and your plow might vanish before harvest. Pay and you barter away months of labor, a fat hen, or a handful of pennies. The manorial court is public theater and private threat at once. He keeps the chest. You can smell cold breath, tallow smoke, and mildew in the hall. Imagine nobles warm behind tapestries while you huddle near embers. Prayers won't stop a tally stick or the bailiff's stick. Very unromantic. It feels like modern bills, but with knives instead of paper. So what actually costs you? Pennies, hens, or harvest labor? And you stand in the church doorway, cold flagstones underfoot, candles guttering. Your breath fogs incense smoke stings the eyes. You say your vows loud enough for the village to hear. That was the point of canon law. Consent had to be public witnesses made your yes legally binding. Then, the crowd follows to the house ale, sloshing and voices high. They shove you toward the bed with jokes, shouts, and a song. You feel both dizzy with desire and terrified for survival. Bedding is a noisy communal theater. Neighbors haul mattress, sing bawdy verses, and someone rattles a bowl for luck. A servant's lantern smokes overhead, bathing faces in trembling light. But beneath the laughter sits a bill. The Lord's ledger counts more than your vows. Merche is the word a marriage fee the Lord expects. You must also supply ale for the feast, its customary payment. Manorial accounts note pennies, hens, or a measure of grain paid. The money goes into a chest at court, counted by the bailiff, not the priest. If you can't cough it up, distraint follows. Pots bedding even beasts. Imagine bailiffs hauling your sow out into the lane. Imagine the bride fretting over a hen while neighbors dance, cold night air biting candles. Guttering, and someone else tallying your life. Families barter bribe or slip away survival shapes. Choices more than romance. It's like winter heating bills deciding who sleeps warm tonight. Nobody wins. The ritual looks like joy, but it feeds a ledger. And this is only the beginning of the Lord's tally. Picture a wooden chest on a cold hall table, coins clinking under a flickering candle, while smoke from the bakehouse stings your eyes. You don't just owe one mysterious right. You owe a list. The merche is first in most ledgers, a marriage fee paid when your daughter leaves the manor, sometimes a few pennies, sometimes brutal shillings. If she marries off the estate, you can pay in money, hens, or a barrel of ale, whatever the bailiff prefers that day. Cash mattered. Then, there's the mill toll. Your grain must be ground at the Lord's mill, and he takes his cut by pound or penny. You send your dough to his oven, and he charges for that too often, exacting a loaf's worth or a small coin. In some places, you even paid to press fruit or cloth. Another stop at the Lord's devices before you called something yours. These aren't abstract finds. Imagine a young couple fresh from vows, the smell of bread rising, counting coins beside a cradle. A merche could swallow a week's wage. A mill fee could take your pig. Fees scale with who you are. And when you pick the date, wealthier tenants paid more, and marrying someone from another manor could spike the bill. People timed weddings, hid payments, or bartered loaves to soften the blow. Can you game which dew hits when? Your breath fogs candlelight. The bailiff stares hungry. Rich tenants sleep warmer. You wake owing more, inevitable and brutal. And imagine the church door framed in freezing air lanterns, guttering villagers, nudging you forward while someone jokes about beds and babies. Behind that ritual doorway sat a ledger and a chest, not a lord in velvet. You learn to be creative fast. Some couples simply married in another lordship, slipping across a boundary like thieves at night. Others vanished into a nearby town and waited a year and a day to claim freedom under urban law. Rolls even record clandestine weddings. Then lists of fines, and later, a smaller payment composed to settle the matter. You didn't face a sexual demand so much as a demand for cash. They liked coin. You could bribe a friendly reeve with hens or ale or promise labor instead of pennies. The hacks were practical, born of survival. Keep daughters fed, avoid a crippling merche, hold onto the best cow. But these tricks fit inside tight walls. Push the system too hard, and the manor court noticed. The bailiff's tally stick could be brutally literal. People who thought they'd outfoxed the chest woke to summons public shame and lists of confiscated goods. The village smelled of smoke, damp wool, and worry when the court sat. You wake before dawn, breath steaming, listening for hoofbeats or torches. Sometimes a priest's blessing stands between you and the manorial clause. Other times, comfort like a warm bed means smoke and colder winters for them. Not fair. When the Lord decides you owe, how does he collect? What goes first? The court decides you sleep with one ear open. Imagine a cold dawn and a bailiff stamping mud from his boots. He's not here for gossip. He's here with a written, stubborn men. You stall payment, they take your cow by the ditch. Manorial law gave them that muscle distraint, allowed seizure of belongings. Bedding pots, even animals, could be dragged right from your hearth. A chest in the great hall clinks while your kitchen grows quieter. You feel the chill where a cow once warmed the milk pail. The cruelest cut comes after death, the Harriet, the best beast. It's dragged away when a widow needs milk and hands to churn. It's legal, and it's brutal, and shame smells like smoke. This wasn't abstract law on parchment, you saw it in smoke. It played out in a cold, smoky courtyard under flickering candlelight. Neighbors' watched eyes remembered who dragged whose feet to the cart. Shame travels faster than a messenger with bad news. If you're known for stiffing the court, you won't get day labor. No one will lend a plow, spare an ox, or share seed. Your social safety net frays as fast as your livelihood unravels. You lie awake, fearing winter hunger and cold breath at night. In the Lord sees a practical rhythm coin keeps his household supplied and predictable. Livestock and pots are messy to seize, sell, and properly account for. But they still beat nothing. A few animals buy grain through winter. The village remembers the humiliation, the cough from smoke and loss. Your pantry empties, your reputation empties faster than the pots clatter. The Lord's ledgers, however, tell a clearer, colder story of profit. He prefers cash because it heats rooms without smoke and accounting headaches. No mercy. And while you wake shivering, his sums stay warm and neat. Debt is personal, and power is colder. Watch the next twist. You imagine lust, the Lord counts revenue streams. Picture a dim solar, a chest on a cold stone table, a bailiff tapping a tally stick while candles gutter. The scandalous rumor of a lord in your bed makes a better story than a ledger. The reality lived in neat columns, entry fines, merchants and mill dues, predictable cash the manor could count on. Those pennies, hens, and ale kept the steward fed, the household staffed, and the retinue mounted for war. You didn't face a silk-draped nobleman at the marriage night. You faced a clerk and a quill and the soft clink of coin. You smell cold breath, candle smoke, and ink on the tally. Peasants fear the guards, the steward's tired eyes keep accounts. Reality. Beds didn't pay. They never did. Manorial accounts prove it. Fees appear again and again, boring and dependable. That predictability is the point. Lords needed money, not sex. After the Black Death, the arithmetic changed. Peasants became scarce, laborers could bargain, and many commuted old obligations into cash. A widow might buy out a service. Couples could sometimes pay a lump sum instead of services in kind. The chest got fatter in different coins. The human stakes were plain: a missed penny meant seized pigs and empty larder, a household stripped to the bones. The atmosphere is hard in small flickering candlelight. The scratch of pen, a family listening in the dark, and the church. It's standing at your doorway. Tomorrow the tally changes, and someone else pays the price. Picture a cold stone church, candles guttering against damp flagstones. You stand at the church door, breath fogging in the draft, the village pressed close behind you. It wasn't the Lord at your bed who sealed the match. You married by words of consent, spoken, heard, witnessed. Your word mattered. Canon law made that public. The Lateran Council standardized bans and impediment checks across Christendom. So priests read the notices and looked for reasons the match couldn't stand. Priests blessed the union, but a legal bond formed when two people said yes. No lord could legally override that spoken vow. And for ordinary people, the doorway was sacred and practical. Neighbors heard, kin counted, the community became witness and proof that publicness could protect someone from secret coercion. It also made a marriage's consequences unavoidable and immediate. Even a private valid marriage still triggered manorial dues if you were unfree. The Lord couldn't lay a law claiming your body, but he could demand pennies. Merchant entry fines and other cash demands waited at the manor chest like a chill after the feast. You might be giddy, terrified, relieved, or hungry as you left the church candles, trailing smoke and gossip. Someone laughed, someone watched the bailiff count, tally sticks. Your yes bought you a household, and sometimes a bill. Imagine soot-choked breath, candle smoke curling into your hair. Nobles had roaring hearths, peasants warmed bodies and grudges instead. Sound carried, gossip traveled faster than cold blankets. So where did the sex horror stories come from? Imagine a thatched cottage at dawn, a knock at the door. It isn't a lord in velvet, it's his reeve with papers. There was never a statute giving lords a bedroom right. Not by statute. Still, medieval people faced real danger behind closed doors. Manorial court rolls literally name reeves clerics and employers. They accused men of assaults, threats, and coerced encounters. Power was the weapon, not parchment. A bailiff could cancel work, seize oxen, or lock up grain. A priest's favor could smooth a manor fine or doom a family. So consent sometimes looked like a frightened nod under candles. Imagine him in a cold stone manor, a single candle guttering. You say nothing because the family needs the grain. Imagine the cold breath fogging a thatch room at dawn. A single candle smells of smoke and fear. You trade warmth or silence for a loaf or an ox. Fear. Sometimes the only evidence is a bruised silence at supper. But villagers had tools of their own. Charivaris rang out, pots clanged under moonlight, and shame followed. Gossip could strip a man's honor faster than any court. Family feuds settled assaults with fists, not parchments. Still, revenge is risky. The hungry obey the ledger. Lords preferred money to scandal, and ledgers show that plainly. Centuries later, those whispered assaults became headlines. Pamphleteers turned rumor into a neat, scandalous, feudal law tale. The myth dies loudly, but the fear lingers. Next, how? A parish door could make your marriage legal.